chilling today. How's your day going? I got some stuff I gotta take care of though. Yeah, go to the bank statement. Take the bank statement down to the welfare office for my QMB, which is basically your they pay for your copay. They pay for your copay. So I have to pay for my copay. So when I go to the hospital, they charge me. Or when I got a doctor's visit, being that I don't make a lot of money, they go ahead and what's going on with Steve? They go ahead and pay for it. You know, you got to renew it every year. You know, but now down at the welfare office, everything has changed since everything is digital. So now, whenever you apply and sign, a phone call. Nah, I don't want to talk to these people. So now, when you apply and sign up for everything, most of it is digital. The last time I was down there, well, last year when I was down there was a huge line. You have to wait, which it gets faster every time you go down there. What's up, Tom? What's up? Yeah, yeah. That's all I want to know. Come on, fly. Get up out of here. Your day's going great. Finna smoke. Okay, okay. That's what's up. I don't smoke, but blunt never killed nobody, so I don't really have nothing against it. Not my pleasure, but you know, do you? They trying to legalize, weed up to a certain amount, and so so here's what people have been doing. They've been going to places where weed is legal, and then trafficking it into other cities, other states. So the purchase of it is legal. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Now the distributing of it can be illegal, even if it's a small amount. If you're reselling it without a license. Now, I, here's what I think about most of this. Okay, so weed has always been a huge market for the corrupt police system, the criminal justice system, the criminals, the police criminals, the police judge criminals, prosecutors, and all them that have been putting black people away for decades upon decades for something that grows out of the ground. That right there is going to slow down their moneymaker, which is us getting going in and out of the system. The longer they keep you into the system, uh, just to register you in the system, like when they ask you for your driver's license, they're registering you. They know who you are, and then they can go from there, where you live and all that. That's why when you get a driver's license, put a PO box address on there. I'm gonna start doing that. You know what I'm saying? PO Box 61 whatever. But nonetheless, so they're gonna find ways of getting around that, because right now the government uh, is basically saying you can sell it in Colorado if you have a license to sell it, right? Which you can sell it and distribute it. You can grow it, sell it, and distribute it. But nonetheless, in other states, they're still busting you for it, like New York. When you look at the black population, this it's like they're messing with you. When you look at the black population in most major cities, you're going, okay, New York major black population, why isn't it they started in New York and said, okay, it's going to be, you can grow it and distribute it with a license in New York, which means you can profit off of it legally. Why didn't they do that in New York? Why did they do that way up in Colorado? You know what I'm saying? Why? And I think in California, if you have a small amount of it, they don't necessarily put you in jail for it, but they might make you throw it away. So it's messing with you is what it is, because they publicize it and they're like, yeah, you can smoke weed. You can not only smoke it. See, we were going to jail for just look. There's a lady doing life. She's doing life right now because she made a phone call and her phone was tapped, and the person asked them, "Do they know where weed is?" And she said yes. And when she said yes, they came and picked her up and put her in jail, and that was strike three. She's in jail for life just because she said she knew where the weed was. So you see how messed up the system is. Now, when they're going, we're letting people go, for nonviolent crimes and this, that, and the third. Why is this such a slow process? You know who these people are. Why is it such a slow process? Why are we still struggling to just go in there, turn a key, and say, you're free to go home? Why is it all this paperwork? Why is it a pardon from the government? Listen, the president just pardoned a soldier for killing someone, during war, but nonetheless, when he killed that person wasn't in an act of violence. They wasn't coming after dude. I don't know the whole story, but that dude was in trouble. He probably killed, some guy who was just minding his own business, but just because he looked Arab, you just went bang. He just got pardoned. I'm saying there should be a mass exodus of the jail system right now. There's over 2 million people in jail. There's over 2 million people in jail. The majority of them are black and Hispanic. There should be a mass exodus of people who had anything to do with weed. I don't care if they were selling it by the bags full. You should let them go. Because weed, to my knowledge, has never killed anyone. And now they got THC drinks. Listen, they have THC restaurants, my dude. A restaurant. Everything in there is laced with THC. And you got people doing life numbers because they had a bag of weed or they knew. Nah, man. They messing with us. They messing with us. White people been smoking weed and selling it. Been doing it. They been profiting off of it. Never killed anyone. Yeah. Yeah, see, you like the THC oil. Because I was looking at World Star and they had 2 Chainz on there and he was doing most expensive things. And there was a guy who was a chef. And he has a restaurant and he's also a catering chef. And he says his price is $10,000. Nothing under $10,000 because he can't buy the the products that he needs to get your party to where they're going. And he doesn't do he said 15 is about his number. So for 15 people, $10,000, depends on who you are. That's really not a lot of money. Depends on who. Well, if you're looking for him, it's not a lot of money. If you're looking for that dude, $10,000 between the 15 of you, that's not a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? This is not like you're having a cookout. This is a dude who has a THC menu. What you drink has THC in it. What you, all the things that you taste is flavored with, like this dude is like super extravagant. So I'm just bugging out because They're pissing in our face and they're calling it rain. Is what they're doing, and they're constantly doing this. They're still all right now, neighbor. They're still jacking people up for the same damn thing. I need to find that place. Well, it's a dude you can. I gotta take this off. My hair's gonna look funny. It's hot out here. I didn't know it was this hot. Well, it's a dude you can actually hire the dude. Look at World Star Hip Hop. He was on yesterday. You can actually go ahead and hire this dude. And they're trying to dump society. Yeah. Hey, Tom. Oh, hey, what's going on, Tammy? How you doing? How's your day going so far? Well, I tell you what. Tell you what, Tammy. My day is going all right. I just got out here. I woke up early this morning. Sun wasn't even up yet. Talked to God for a minute. We had a conversation. Had to talk to God for a minute. And then I finally got up, after watching some stuff on I was I was watching freaking Instagram, right? You know they got videos on Instagram. And I was listening to Paul Rogan, a short segment of Paul Rogan. I like Paul Rogan. I'm a Paul Rogan fan now after today. I was, casually because I thought he was cool, but now I'm all the way Paul Rogan. I'm all the way, you know, watch Paul Rogan's show. Because there was this idiot on there who said that black people, because of something that's in us, genetically built in us, are inherently violent and we are prone to violence. And Paul was listening to this dude and looking at him like, wait, what? And this dude was going through all this statistics and all this bull crap. He was like, yeah, we're inherently prone to violence. Black people are violent. So Paul said, so Paul said, well, if you look at the military, he said, in all the violence and killing and murdering, invading, and all the things that they've done, he said, that is mostly white people. He just looked at dude like, what are you talking about? If you look at the history of the world, white people invaded every country. What, what, what rock did you just climb up under? You know what I'm saying? Where you coming from, dude? Where you been? White people are the most violent people on the planet. White people built a bomb that can crack the planet in half. They have one of these. It is literally a bomb, and they thought about dropping it down into the Marianas Trench. If you don't know where the Marianas Trench is, let me explain to you what the Marianas Trench is. It is a place in the ocean, I think it's in the Pacific, I don't know, in the ocean that is 5 miles deep. It is literally at the bottom of a mountain range. It is 5 miles straight down. And they thought about like if they drop this bomb down there, what would happen? Well, tectonic plates will start going the opposite way they should be. I mean, white people are out of there. We only got one planet. We we have one planet. I don't get it. I don't understand. Paul Rogan, yeah, just check him out. He has a podcast. If you look him up on the internet, Rogan, Rogan. Yeah, I've been watching the science chat. Most people think the world is flat. Yeah, yeah. I don't think the world's flat, but I don't think it's spinning at 66 billion miles an hour. I don't think it's flat. I'm just saying that right now. I don't think that the world is round either. Yeah, Rogan, there it is. I don't think that the world is round. I don't think that. Okay, somebody said, okay, so people were trying to figure out what is gravity. Why is it that uh, when something goes in the air, something else must come down? Why is it? Why? What is gravity? And I've been trying to use these little propeller things to try to figure out some of that. Now I know that's nerdy as heck, but that's what I am. I am a nerd. uh, but nonetheless, it's a good question. What is gravity? How is gravity perpetuated? How is gravity made? Where did it come from? It's called a divine order. Okay, amen. Amen to divine order. However, being that something is a divine order doesn't mean that there is not a scientific explanation for it. A divine order, men and women. We have science that backs up what men and women are. You know what I mean? Bugs and animals and all things that we know, we have a science on the way these things work. We can read a book and we can read a book and look at something and understand it and comprehend it. Now, when you're talking about something that is divine, you're talking about something that is uh, omnistic, omnipresent, uh, and sometimes it is beyond the comprehension of just some people. They don't understand divine. They don't understand God. They still have questions about God. Well, science kind of dumbs down a lot of what God has already made, even though we don't know everything. Yes, so science is in that order. Now, when you look at gravity, there is a science behind gravity because there is a science behind how to defy gravity. Lift and drag and all that other stuff. Just your your muscles. All that. You know what I'm saying. But when I look at gravity, I'm like, this is something we can't see, but we know it's there, and it affects everything. Everything. There's nothing not affected by gravity. Even if it floats, it's still affected by gravity in some kind of way. Why? Because if you put something on top of that thing that's floating, guess what's going to happen? It's going to start coming down. Gravity. All right, so everything's affected by gravity. But what is gravity? You know what I'm saying? Some scientists try to explain it. When I look at gravity, okay, let me tell you what I know. My non-science answer of gravity, and how to defy it, because I think what we're doing is wrong. Okay, I think an airplane in the sky is a foreign object. I do. I think something that glides is more natural than something that is forcefully propelled. Meaning a jet engine in the sky, to me, you're forcing something to move in a natural atmosphere, which causes an unnatural reaction. The unnatural reaction, the plane falling out of the sky. You have to go, Tone. Okay, my son just pulled up. Okay, talk to you later. So, anyways, so what I think, just quickly, what I think about how to defy gravity, this is for any object. I think if you're going to defy gravity, you have to identify gravity. And you have to identify gravity first and duplicate it. Instead of trying to punch through it, you have to duplicate what gravity is. And as soon as you duplicate gravity, you will have a natural process that allows a vehicle to look natural, even though it isn't. An airplane in the sky is not natural, but you can make the airplane look natural. So if you make the airplane look natural to gravity, then gravity will not recognize it. So that's what you have to do. How to do that, I don't know. What's going on, little Steve? We'll go get the plant. He wants to water the plant. Bring it over here.
It looks like it's still soap.
Yeah, it's still got water in it. So you got to stick your finger in it. Okay, well, there he goes. He's gone. All right. He likes the plant. Likes my planted apple tree. I had another one that was growing, but neighbor came over and knocked it over and killed it. It was pretty high too, and I should have went and beat him up, but I don't like violence. So I'm just growing another one, and it'll be all right. Nonetheless, so anyways, if you can make an object look like an object, if you can make one object look like the other objects, then it won't be foreign. And if you can make it operate naturally, so if it looks like a duck and it acts like a duck, then it's a duck. But not necessarily. This would be a duck carrying people. So that's what you have to do. I don't know how to do that, but I know that if you can create a signature, gravity has a signature. Every molecule has a signature. Your car, you, everything has a signature. Everything has a frequency. And everything has a balance. If you can figure out what the signature is, if you can figure out what the frequency, the way people get healed from a disease, especially naturally by plants, is for one, their own body recognizes that the frequency of a cell is off. So when your body is invaded by something, your cells emit a frequency to your body and tells the rest of your body something's off. Then, of course, you have your white blood cells. They kick in and then they come and attack whatever it is and hopefully get rid of it in some kind of way. Nonetheless, it's a vibrating frequency. Everything is vibrating. Everything's moving constantly. The cells are moving. So if you can find the frequency of gravity and place that frequency and have that frequency uh, uh, um, emit the same signal around an object, it would make the object itself look like gravity. This way gravity wouldn't fight against it. This way you wouldn't have what's called the sound barrier. You wouldn't have, you wouldn't have no friction. There would be no friction at all. The space shuttles blew up. There were three of them that went up in smoke. One of them didn't even leave the ground. But the two of them that blew up because of one reason: speed. Speed caused the problem. Uh, when the one blew up in '86, it's going so fast. They're using so much power. A canister busted open. Boom. caught on fire if they never stood a chance. Now just think if they was rising at 100 mile an hour and that canister fell off of there. You think the whole cabinet would be gone right now? If they were just rising 100 miles an hour straight up, the answer is no. It would have fell off of there. The ship would have recognized that there was a problem. It would have been fixed. They would have stopped the ship, fixed it, boom, then went into the atmosphere. No death. The other one that was coming, it was coming inbound. And when it came through what we call gravity, the friction of the space shuttle created so much heat that the heat shields, there was a gap in the heat shields, and they used cheap material because NASA was cutting back on whatever. But they used cheap material, cheap foam or whatever it is to keep them on there, and that heat went right up through there and blew it up immediately. Boom! Once again, speed. It was doing 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. You think that would have happened? No, because there wouldn't have been no friction. Even at 100 miles an hour, there would have been very little friction. At 100 miles an hour, very, very little friction. But what I'm talking about, building, I don't know how to build it, but the idea that I have would allow any propelled ship, plane, any of it, to move with ease through anywhere, even through a thunderstorm, even through a hurricane. The hurricane wouldn't even know you're there. Wouldn't know. It could be 200-300 mile an hour winds. You'd be sitting right in it, and not in the eye of it, in the most tornado, nothing. Wouldn't even know you're there. Now the debris is a whole nother thing, but if you're just talking about the wind itself, and then there's a way of getting around the debris too. That involves a force field. That involves some type of frequency field, which both can be in the same. And then the debris would just bounce right off the object. However, you could run into some issues with that, but nonetheless, all right, neighbor. Nonetheless, it's possible. But what is the frequency of gravity? I do not know these things. I don't even know how to figure that out. I'm not a mathematical whiz. But logic. Simple logic. That's where it all starts. It all starts with what if. What if? Now, I surmise all the time. Act like I don't surmise. I be surmising. So I was surmising, and I was looking at the possibility of using, of course, magnets. Now I was thinking magnetic north has a pull to it, right? The North and South Pole have pulls to them. So I was thinking magnetic North, magnetic South, they both have pulls to them. What if you use magnets to move your okay, so all right, when you have a compass faces magnetic north, right? You automatically magnetic north. So if you have a strong enough magnet, you already know where magnetic north is. However, if you have strong enough magnets, not only do you know where magnetic north is, you can pull, you can you can propel towards magnetic north. Okay. So on if you have a magnet, okay, if you have a magnet that is north and you have something that's drawn to the magnet, depends on the distance and the strength of the magnet, that magnet will be drawn to it. So it's gonna, you know what I'm saying? And if you, on the flip side, if you have a magnet and the magnet is drawn away from it, the same thing. If it's strong enough, it's gonna propel itself the other way. So, like I said, I'm not a mathematical genius, but I was thinking that some kind of way you can use a dial and use the magnet's ability to say, I want to go so fast at such a distance, north and south, by just, I don't know, some magnets within your, and of course, a lot of ways to dial up the energy, dial back the energy, just like a throttle, and of course, lift and drag and all of that. But it wouldn't be so violent as, you know, a propeller system or a jet system. It wouldn't be nothing like that. It looked like something out of Star Wars, whole flying car thing. So you would have, I guess, an engine to regulate. You would have an engine to regulate the speed of propulsion. But nonetheless, the propulsion itself would not be something that is combustible. It would be uh, purely magnetic, be unseen. Now, I think that this idea, there's nothing new under the sun. I think that this idea has already been illustrated, and I think it was illustrated uh, during the first reigns of the Egyptians, actually up to the last reign of the Egyptians. I think it was already a thing because we know that there are pyramids all over the planet. Now, we also know that none of those pyramids were made for kings to be buried into. That's not what they're for. We know that they are huge batteries. We know this now. We also know how they were made. They were made. Well, we don't know the precision of which they're made. We don't know that, but we do know that they were made using water. And at one time, the Nile River didn't flow in a direction. Well, it flowed in the same direction, but it was bigger. And where the Sphinx and all that is, there was water. So all of those objects, all of, you know, the Great Pyramid of Giza and all those pyramids and the Sphinx, which was built, I think, before the pyramids, all of those objects were uh, made in water. And the water uh, acted as some type of, I don't know, conductor or whatever it was doing, but we know that they were using the water and to make it, and they were also using water for whatever it does. But nonetheless, it created this huge battery, and I believe that, and of course, they were made by the stars. So of course, magnetic north and south was a thing there, and I believe that they used these huge batteries to allow vehicles to fly from one spot to another. I just believe that they did this. There was a glider found in one of the pyramids. This is over 2,000 years ago. Airplanes is nothing new, but it was a glider. It was a glider. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't an airplane. It wasn't an object that was foreign to the sky. You know what I'm saying? It operated like something that's supposed to be naturally there, and that's what our biggest problem is. So yeah, so this is why we have airplanes falling out of the sky. They don't belong there the way that they are set up. But if they're set up the right way, there would be no problem, except somebody trying to knock you out the sky. But other than that, with the operation of the airplane itself, like I said, you would need huge magnets. You would need huge uh, power distributors all over the planet. There are actually pyramids here in the United States. You know where they're at? The Grand Canyon. There are pyramids in the Grand Canyon. I mean, wrap your head around that. There has been cities found in the desert, under the desert sand. That sand wasn't always there. There are large cities found under there. They're finding underground cities left and right. Just they're just finding more and more of these underground dwellings, and some of them are so huge. It is unexplainable how they were built. Look, they if you go to India, you'll see some of the most phenomenal buildings that are built into the ground from the same rock. They have these huge like cities that are they started on top of a flat rock, on top of cement or whatever it was, just a rock, and they started chiseling and chiseled their way down. They chiseled a whole city. It's all one. It isn't a building that could be, no, it's all one. Cities in India. Where they get this technology? And it you can tell that it wasn't a bunch of dumb people who did this. I think we're the dummies. I think our technology is a lie. I do. I think the human body is a lot more powerful than what anybody would expect. And I think once we get a hold of that knowledge, here's what I think is going to happen. I think the 1% that feeds us information little by little each year, they know the truth. And they know if we know the truth, there's going to be a bunch of people who are super fast, super strong, just super, as the young people say, lit. But it's going to be more than that. You're going to have old people living to be 400 or 500 years old and still, you know, out here running 40, 50 miles an hour like it's nothing. Dr. Sabian was an example of some of that because Dr. Sabian at 74 years old could jump up on his knees. He could just jump, boom, hit his knees, and it wouldn't hurt him. He would illustrate this. And he used to be a fat dude. Dr. Sabian was fat. So I I think there's a lot of power in the human body. And I was trying to tell somebody about I was talking to a biochemist very briefly. I told her that the mitochondrion, which is the battery of a cell, human cell, I think if that battery was overclocked, and this sounds ridiculous, I think if the battery was either overclocked, overcharged, or electronically charged in some kind of way, and or the pituitary gland. Well, let me finish with overclocking. I think that the food that we eat, of course, affects us, but it doesn't make us stronger. It limits our power. Now, when I look at the pituitary gland, which is in the back of your neck, and if the pituitary gland is uh, uh, compressed, if it's messed with, it will release the growth hormones in a natural body, and it will release an unnatural amount of it into your body, and then you would have what we call giantitis or gigantism. You have 7, 8 foot people who heads are large. You know, some of them can walk, some of them have a hard time walking because of their synovial joints, which are your knees and your shoulders, are having a hard time, and it's painful. You know, they can't get up and get around because, you know, your joints are, you know, you're in pain. The cartilage and the liquid synovial fluid is having a hard time within these joints. Uh, but I think that gigantism is a prime example of what we're supposed to be. I don't think a man, on average, is supposed to be under, you know, 6, 7 feet. I think we're preemies. I do. I don't think we're supposed to be this size, all of us. Some, yes. All, no. I think they're supposed to be not only giant people, I think that there's supposed to be a lot of what we call giant people. And we would not call these people giants, you know. And let me say this, we would call them giants, but we wouldn't look at them and go, oh my God, you know, a Game of Thrones giant, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? It would be a regular thing for us to see giants. There would be races of them. And we know this because there already were races of giants. Some of them were growing up to 36 feet. We know there are large cities that are underwater right now. We know that there are large monoliths that can't explain how they were moved. Large stones that nothing we have today can move these stones. We know that there were large people. We have footprints, we have bones, we have everything to show that, you know, there were large people here. And I'm not saying that they're all gone. I'm saying that the people that we see now, we see somebody 7 foot. We look at that 7 footer and we say, you know, oh my goodness, you know, oh my Jesus, that's a big person. I look at that person, I go, yeah, that's a big person, but that's a big small person. I'm 6'2". I am what people call the ideal height. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a small person compared to what used to walk around on the earth. I am not even 1/3 of the size of my ancestors. I don't think Adam and Eve were 6'2". I don't believe that. And the people who were here before Adam and Eve, I don't believe God would put them at a disadvantage like that. I think they were taller. When you look at the Bible and they start talking about the land of Canaan, Middle East, they said that there were giants in the land. And the Canaanites were afraid of them. And God was like, go ahead and go in there. Land of milk and honey and all that good stuff. Also in Mount Seir, which is where the Caucasians came from, the Caucasus Mountains. Mount Seir, near the Red Sea, Jerusalem. So in between Asia and Africa, the Red Sea parts Asia and Africa. So when you look at Jerusalem, oh well, when you look at the Caucasus Mountains, there were giants that lived in the Caucasus Mountains, and there were different races of them. Because when you look at the book of Deuteronomy, God tells the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are Jews, he tells them, do not go up into the mountains and make war with them. Because they're walking around the mountain. And God had them walk around the mountain for 40 years. And he did that to get rid of all of the generals because they wanted to go to war. But when you look at Deuteronomy, God is constantly saying what races live in the mountains. And then he's constantly saying, do not go up there and make war with them. But after all of the warring generals died off, then they went into the land of milk and honey. Because God didn't want you to make war with them. And the reason why God didn't want the Jews, us, to make war with them is because the people who lived in the Caucasus Mountains with the giants were a warlike race. And God used them to wipe out the giants. They were white people. They were Caucasians. And this is why they're so good at fighting. They were born that way. They were bred. They were engineered that way to know war pretty much better than any other race. And not only that, when God was telling them don't go up there and make war, he probably knew that there would be a lot of Jews wiped out. Because the mountains were full of these people. There were clans of them. Dangerous giants and dangerous Caucasians that lived in the mountains. But the Jews traded with them. They got water and stuff from them. They traded with them. But God said, don't make war with them. So we know that the beings that we see, the human being that we see now, are not even close to what the human beings from the Bible days are and could do. Now, some people are going, well, they were a lot smaller than us. I don't think so. I don't think they were a lot smaller than us. You know, and they were talking about their strength and speed and all this. I'm like, the Bible says that one of the prophets outran a chariot. Now, let's get this straight. We're not talking about a chariot with a person pulling it. We're talking about a horse running and a man, it was one of the prophets, and he outran it for a long distance. Just, you know what I'm saying? He outran it. So, nah. Samson killed more Philistines by bringing down the building than he did in the battlefield. And Samson wasn't alone. They're trying to make it seem like Samson was this one lone, giant, strong person. There was a whole bunch of those dudes. There was a whole bunch of Samsons. It's just that Samson was blessed by God through his hair. God imbued him with that strength through his hair, and he knew it. You think God ain't doing that today? You think somebody out here doesn't have super strength or super speed because of something that God gave them? If you believe that's not true today, then you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. There are people that are incredibly strong. There are people that are scary strong. And I'm not talking about just the mountain who is a ridiculously strong person. Bjorn Bjornsson from Iceland or wherever in the God's grief he's from. But I'm talking about people who can do stuff that is what you would consider inhuman. But they look like a normal person. And they can perform inhuman feats. Now, when we look at the way our bodies are made, when we look at the fight or flight system, what is the autonomic system? There's two systems. One of them is the autonomic system. I don't know what the other one is. I haven't taken biology in a while. But when we look at the fight or flight system, our flight system, when it kicks in because of fear or because we're into a fight and we're engaged in something that's life threatening, our other system changes. So we don't have to go to the bathroom. You don't have your nervous system is heightened, but you don't feel pain until it's over. So when you get in the fight, last time you got in the fight, you were scrapping it out. When the fight was over, you was just like, you didn't even know you got hit. You know what I'm saying? You knew you got hit, but you didn't know you got injured. You know what I'm saying? Then your knee hurts or something else hurts. So now that the system kicks into reality, you're just like, but there are people who can control their fight or flight system without being engaged in battle. And also, when you're fighting, you're faster than you normally are, and you're stronger than you normally are, and your synapses are firing on a whole different level than you normally do. So just imagine being able to have that all the time and boosted. This is not a super soldier serum. This is something that's already in you. You already have this in you. But for one, we don't live in villages where we have to hunt for food. We just go to Kroger's and get it. That's one. That's one reason why your fight or flight system. And because of that, and the reason being is there are animals who eat us. So when you go out hunting for food, guess else is looking for food? A jaguar, a bobcat, an American lion. And guess there was an American lion. An American lion, alligators, snakes. You are food to them. Alligator just ate a man not too long ago. Man was in the water fixing something in the water. Alligator came up and bit him in his groin. He was floating down the street with half of a man's body in his mouth. Now, of course, they went and found the alligator and killed it. But it doesn't stop alligators from wanting to eat us. It doesn't stop the gator from wanting to eat you. Anyways, my battery's dying. And hope you guys enjoyed. Well, the one person on here enjoyed this conversation. Well, one-sided conversation. But I don't know. I just felt like talking. Anyway, God bless you. Have a good day. What up, Steve?